So I want to talk about this a while ago because this is some interesting stuff, and it's obviously in the wake of some unfortunate incidents that, to be honest, have been happening in this country for a while now because of our stance on bearing arms. So we'll start off with this article by CNN. Uh, this sheriff is tired of school shooting hoaxes plaguing his county. Here's his message to students. So, spoiler alert, this is some Florida shit. Salute to all my Floridians. Scroll down. So, nice little zoom in. And also, as always, the articles will be posted in the description below if you guys want to read it for yourself. So, a Florida sheriff is tired of bogus school shooting hoaxes plaguing his county. So tired, he's got a slew of strong words and actions ready for students and parents alike. If you make a threat, we're coming after you. Or I should say, quote unquote, we're coming after you. Quote unquote. You don't you don't stand up on an airplane and yell hijack. You don't walk to a movie theater and yell fire, and you don't get online and post that you're going to shoot up a school. Veluza, look at the ad coming through. Can you get rid of that? Volusia County Sheriff Michael Chintwood, hope I'm saying that right, said in a video on social media, quote unquote, it's gonna get your ass sent to jail. Chintwood remarks following the arrest of an 11-year-old middle school student in Port Orange, Florida on Monday, who was being charged with a felony. Or I repeat, an 11-year-old middle school student is being charged with a felony after making a bogus threat to commit a mass shooting at a middle school. Authorities said CNN is not naming the 11-year-old boy, or sorry, I don't know if they even said boy, the 11-year-old who has been charged as a juvenile. So, if you pull up that first, thing, because this is not just like an article. This is real deal happening in Florida, the state of, you know, the great state of Florida.
Wait, the
Now,
video link, right? Is that what you're talking
yes,
about? Or
yeah, the video
okay.
link. And I guess while you're pulling up the video link, I will say, wait, no, the video link in the I mean, I guess,
Discord?
yeah. But
Uh,
I guess we'll listen to this as well. Some extra. This is probably him actually saying what they said in the article. So yeah, well, while you're pulling it up, so heads up, if you're watching it live, salute to all the folks that watch us live. You're obviously just gonna get the unedited video, but once we put it in post, I'm actually probably gonna blur out some of the stuff because and that's kind of the topic of discussion, giving these kids anonymity, even though they're doing relatively heinous or very sus activity. But before we get to that, I guess let's hear what the sheriff had to say. Is this a video? I feel
September 13th, and we're not having a good day in Volusia County. So far, 54 tips have come in through Fortify, Florida, talking about school shootings. All of them have been deemed bogus. We have 2 people in custody. We have another person who we're investigating and probably will take into custody. I can't say this clear. You don't stand up on an airplane and yell hijack. You don't walk into a movie theater and yell fire. And you don't get online and post that you're going to shoot up a school. It's going to get your ass sent to jail. And now, for you parents out there, today's hoax cost around $21,000. There's 2 people in custody. We're coming after you. And starting Monday, your little cherub, we're going to start publishing his face and doing perp walks with him when we take him into custody. And then we're going to show pictures of you, the parents, because you don't want to raise your kid, Sheriff Chitwood's going to raise them. You think it's a joke, you're going to find your ass in handcuffs, and you're going to find your ass being paraded out in front of the news media behind me, and your parents are going to be filmed as they come to pick you up. So parents, get your kids in line, or your checkbook's going to hurt and your pride's going to hurt. I promise. Today.
so. Sound like the no nonsense type, somewhat respectable and definitely respectable. And again, in the wake of some of the most like unfortunate things that have happened throughout the country. But yeah, this brother wasn't capping one bit. If you pull up the video, he's he wasn't just capping. He really is about everything he just said. So his first one is in relation to the little boy. So again, since it's gonna be blurred out for some of it, for the audio only listeners, 11-year-old arrested in Florida after bragging about a kill list and showing off his arsenal of weapons. So it's a literally little boy in handcuffs. His butt is going to jail, just like the sheriff said. Go ahead and play it.
What you here for today?
Put that foot down. Let me get the other foot.
They don't just got the handcuffs; they got the foot cuffs.
All right, come on in here. Have a seat in the cell. We're going to gather up some paperwork and get things started for you. Do you have any questions? All right.
What we're going to start doing Monday is, since parents, you don't want to raise your kids, I'm going to start raising them. Every time we make an arrest, your kid's photo is going to be put out there. And if I could do it, I'm going to perp walk your kid so that everybody can see what your kid's up to.
All right, sir. Careful.
Right? You really gotta respect, you know, when somebody says they're gonna do something and they actually do it. I guess I will go through the other one as well because he didn't just do it once; his brother did it twice. Go back to the article real quick, just to give you guys the full level of context before we actually get into the topic of discussion. Okay, yes. Beyond his striking words, Chitwood is turning heads for his approach for putting students and their parents' names, mugshots, and perp walk videos on social media for all to bear witness, like we just did. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire, he told CNN Wednesday. Under Florida law, I have every right to release the kid's photo, a video of them being arrested in the police report. And I'm able to come after you, either criminally or civilly, for the cost of an investigation and for endangering the child or endangering the welfare of a child. And then we're going to show pictures of you, the parents, he said, because you don't want to raise your kid, Sheriff Chitwood is going to raise them. Damn. Yeah, you keep going, because there's also one of the two folks. School shooting. There was, yeah. I think these are two. Stay right there. Go scroll up a bit. Okay, let's see here. Chitwood is not allowed through his has not followed through his promise to show students arrested for these threats in at least one case. Oh, yeah, there was one where one person did a hoax that, but then they found out the kid had autism, so that's one thing. But there was these two look badass kids. Some of these kids would really be bad. That went online. They were on Discord. Yo, your kids be on Discord and Snapchat saying some wild things. It does speak about somewhere in this article, but pull up the other video. Sorry for kind of moving around a lot. I just wanted to get you guys like the main highlights, just to show you guys this sheriff in Florida. They ain't playing around no more. And again, with everything that's been happening in the country, some people argue this is the right approach to take to kind of clamp down on people even thinking about making bogus threats. So this one's another one. 2 students arrested for school shooting threats. Let's see what this happens.
Parents, do your job. Don't let Sheriff Chitwood raise your kids. This is absolutely ridiculous. Go talk to the families who have lost a loved one in a school shooting. These little knuckleheads think it's funny. Go talk to those parents and see how funny this is.
I'll go back. Yeah, I'm definitely blurring this part. Like, this is what kids are doing. What is the point of this? Keep going.
This is.
Think you made a wise decision today? No, man, you gotta be better than that. Your life's not over, but it's just starting, man. You kids have to start thinking, and when you go to school,
At least they give them them OG talks.
that's it. Okay?
Cuffs on them.
And have a seat. we're ready for you. We're gonna come get you. I'm gonna process you, all right? You have any questions, man? Okay.
Perp walking him. All right. So now that you got the full context, this sheriff isn't BSing. Obviously, while this, you got to respect them for following through on what they said they were going to do, there is a point of contention with this, primarily being that these are incredibly young kids. The first little boy is literally 11, and these other two kids, I believe they were 14 or 13, still incredibly young, minors. And yeah, I mean, the question really becomes, what do y'all think about this? Are y'all in full support of, kids that are making threats have to be punished, and this is the way you go about it? Or do you think that, or are you, more on the side that we have to protect kids at all costs, and for better or for worse, a part of protecting kids is giving them, that full anonymity, even when they do stuff like this. Who got started last time? I think. What do you think, Ace?
So I think I've been trying to think of this in terms of like, what is this really more likely to stop school shootings than any other potential approach? Like, does this approach have merit towards that goal? And in my perception, I think part of the problem with the mentality of a school shooter is probably that they want attention in some ways. So if this is like the attempted solution to make people that even make threats become more public, I don't know how that inherently like gets at the psychology of a school shooter and prevents them from getting what they ultimately want, which is, again, like attention, acknowledgement that they have been wronged in some way, retaliation. Like, I don't see how this inherently gets at that problem. I do think
What
that.
about if it's
Oh, go ahead.
what about if it's primarily to address the people that are making quote unquote bogus threats, or just, I don't want to say trolling, because I really don't understand the mentality of the youth doing this type of thing. Maybe, I mean, like, they're both they're both conscious of the fact that this is a thing that happens in our country and we take it very seriously, but they're also not necessarily, at that age, not conscious of the severity of it. Because we're not trying to solve, like, what do you do with, like, real deal mass murderers, but I think they're trying to tackle when people are saying these type of things online, but they probably don't actually have intent to proceed with them.
Got it. Yeah, that changes things a bit. Because I was actually thinking they were trying to prevent school shootings by doing this, like by getting at people who are saying they're going to do it as like a threat and trying to get ahead of it. But no, I still think, like, okay, so if the intention is just to stop people who are making threats, was there like, if the was the penalty before to get arrested already, like, just without people being, like, their faces being shown?
They do like a wellness check. I think if they actually have all the evidence, they actually do bring you in. But yeah, I think the difference in what this sheriff is doing now is specifically putting out your name, face, parents' name, and putting the video on social media. Before, it might have been you just heard about it on the news and then in the paper.
Hmm.
I don't think you would ever
This is
hear
tough.
about a fake school shooting in the news at all.
If it
I,
made
I really
if it made publicity, let's see.
Yeah, a threat. Yeah, for sure.
no.
For sure.
I think we
For
I
sure.
have.
Like there was a bomb, like especially if the school had to shut down or whatever because of it. Like, of course.
It might be relatively local. I'm not saying it would be national news, but
Right.
If it had the school had to shut down, then I guess. But I'm thinking that because they said there were 54 of these calls. I'm thinking that the process is more so they internally investigate, determine that there's no threat, and then from there, not every situation warrants a full shutdown. In some of the less severe circumstances, I wouldn't imagine get publicized all that often. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what
I
I
mean, you're right. Not
think.
all of them get that level. Like, there's not 54 some odd videos of kids getting taken out of the van and put in cuffs and put in the cell.
Right.
But that is to show that they will do it if they have enough evidence and they get you.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I'm trying to get into the head of the mentality of like a kid who would do like make a threat just whatever out of just being a kid. Um. And I feel like the repercussion of potentially being arrested is I feel like it would be just as bad in their mind whether whether they would, they have the threat of being shown on TV or not. I
Mm.
don't think that would change their mentality for or against making the threat. The only thing is oh yeah, it's not. Yeah, I don't think it would change their mentality. Like if these videos had the kid's face blurred out and the parents' faces blurred out, they didn't say the name, but they did show that a kid got arrested for making the threat. I think the yeah, and another potential um kid's mind, it would have the same effect.
I do see where you're going. I guess could you make the case that it is a bit more like, especially in this day of social media where social media is so prevalent, it would make the kid a bit more embarrassed because I mean they have to go back to their they're not going to jail permanently. They're doing their punishment and then they're going back to society. They're going back to school and now all their friends are going to see that stuff.
Maybe.
Not only friends,
Maybe.
everybody around the world, like everybody that bumped into any of those videos, us, anyone that watches this, so on and so forth.
Yeah. Hmm. Maybe there is a social aspect that I'm not catching on to.
But it sounds like you're saying that potentially just the arrest could be punishment enough. You don't have to publicize it
Yeah,
the way they did before.
just the arrest, just the knowledge, and also just the knowledge that you people are getting arrested. Like if as long as that knowledge is public enough, I don't necessarily, I don't necessarily think that that the people's faces need to be shown, but that's based off of just my feeling. Obviously I have no data to back that up.
Yeah, that's what you're
I
saying.
think that's where I land.
And I guess it's not necessarily super critical, but are you just looking at it from like what will solve the overall problem standpoint, or do you have some level of like concern for what could be the negative ramifications for the young kids?
I'm mostly thinking of it from the overall problem perspective. um as far as the kids themselves are concerned, like I do think, I mean, this obviously shows that there's some they have some there's something, that needs to be addressed in terms of how they're thinking about things. And I would want to see like there be some, some type of I don't know, like counseling or something outside of just your kid gets arrested, thrown in jail for a little while, and taken out, and they're back, back at home and nothing really, nothing really outside of like just they lose some time. Like there should this should be a clear sign that they need some type of guidance or something like that. And I would hope that along with the arrest that something like that would be provided.
I don't want to turn this into a whole
But
thing. It's completely different topic, but you really think like a little 11-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old boy or child, when they do something this egregious, counseling is going to resolve it?
I think it could help. Because like we kind of briefly saw. I mean, it we kind of briefly saw it with that last dude with the way he was talking to them. It was like, yeah, he's giving them like a
Yeah, but that was
kind of
coupled.
a
That was coupled with the
parent type
fact of
talk.
all the other stuff, that the arrest, the fact that we're
That's
broadcasting
what I'm
this.
saying. It would be in like any type of counseling would obviously be along with the arrest. I'm not saying just if the kid makes these threats that no arrest, they just are forced into counseling. I think the I don't want to say humiliation, but the shame of being arrested, put into a jail cell, like that actual visceral experience, in addition to like some type of counseling being provided and it being made clear that the the state doesn't want to just label you now. You're a criminal into perpetuity. Like we see that you are a potential criminal, and this is your future. Like there being some type of indication that that's not what they want for you, and that they do want to try to help you in a way, in outside of just arresting you. Like I do feel that could be valuable. Obviously, it's going to depend on the kid, and it's going to depend on the counselors that the quality of the counselors. But I do think that's that would be valuable as well.
Fair enough. And obviously, I largely, I'm on record. I'm on board with like talking to kids and like having some dialogue from even way younger. But at a certain point, when you're dealing with like young kids, I don't want to get a hot take, but it really does. There has to be some level of physical punishment or punishment that's gonna like old school. Like, hey, you're going out to the old country to spend time with grandma and old uncle. Like you're going back. You're going to Romania, or you're going to like down south to be with
Yeah,
your.
but the state can't do that. Like the state can't just send
Oh
you
no, no,
with to
no!
live with a.
I'm not talking about the state. I'm just talking about like punishment in general. Like what parents got to do.
Yeah. The parents are a separate thing. I haven't spoken to what
Got
I
you.
think the parents should do.
Fair enough. Ghost, what do you think of now that you've seen all of this? What do you think of this way of going about handling these type of situations, and especially dealing with these young kids? Do you think this is a proper procedure for doing this, or do you think you do have to protect kids no matter how stupid they're being to be blunt about it? Or maybe you don't even care
Um,
about the necessary protection of kids. You just don't think it's an effective way to go about it.
Honestly, I am pretty much in 100% agreement with the sheriff and the way that he's going about this situation for a few different reasons. For one, I think if we're looking at it from an aspect of actually stopping school shootings, it's school shootings, I guess, are going to happen pretty much either way, or no matter what people do, just because
Unfortunately,
of the way the school system is set up and a whole
the
lot
way
of other
gun laws are
underlying
set up.
factors. Yeah, so there's really not a whole lot that can be done to curb that, but I do think that to some small extent, seeing a potential school shooter, seeing hard concrete consequences, seeing just the image of this kid sitting in a cell might do something. It probably wouldn't be a whole lot, but it might help a tiny bit in curbing any potential impulse to do something like this. Because I know for myself, a lot of the times when you talk about school shootings, you hear the stories, you maybe see some videos while it's happening that the kids are taken, but I feel like you rarely see the actual consequences after the kid is taken into custody. If he's still living, it's like a lot of times they will blur out their information if they're a juvenile. You don't ever see anything like them being sitting in a jail cell or taken into custody unless it's like a court case or something. That's just
Mm-hmm.
my opinion. So I think this might help a little as far as that goes. And then if you're looking at it from a perspective of any non actual school shooter, but just a kid looking to pose a fake threat, I think this would do a lot to help curb that because in my mind, knowing how kids think generally, I feel like maybe there are a few that are attention seeking, like, and they would enjoy the thrill or however you want to describe it of being on TV and being broadcasted all this. But I mean, that this is really up for a child psychologist to get into the depths of it. But I feel like most of these fake incidents are from kids literally just trolling and being,
That's
what
what I
would
was
be
thinking about earlier.
funny? Like, again, I know how kids think, and a lot of times they just do shit because they think it's funny. And for those kids, before, if it was just a situation where, oh, they file a false report and it gets investigated or the police looks into it and then they say, oh, didn't mean it. The police goes, maybe visits their house or something, or if they are taken into custody, it's like a quick thing where, yeah, they get disciplined in the moment, and their parents are probably, hopefully, upset at them, but they get to
Hopefully.
move on, and there's no long lasting real consequences, and just because they thought it'll be funny and they did it. But for all of those cases to see like actual real live, it's a lot different just hearing, oh, you're gonna go to juvenile detention for a day, than to see someone cuffed up, again, broadcast online, and that shit is, unless you were like a special breed of young psychopath that gets off on the
Jesus.
attention like a serial killer and wants people to think you're a bad person. Like, most kids, even if they're bad, they don't want to be seen publicly like perceived a certain way. In this, there's no hiding. There's no like, oh, you were in school for X amount of days. What happened? Oh, I just got into trouble with this. Nah, this is, everyone knows exactly what you did, uh, and you kind of have that stigma around you. And again, the knowledge of, yeah, this will follow me around. It is a harsh punishment,
Very
but
damaging.
again, it can be, but it's not like a light thing to do. And I feel like a lot of the time that's what kids think. It's like, oh, just if you're on Snapchat, just type of, "We're gonna shoot up the school." It's something crazy. Kids will say dumb stuff, and maybe this solution isn't the ideal for every single case. Like if someone just drops a random sentence on Discord when they're venting about like, oh, I'm pissed about this, pissed about that, and they say something, it's like a spur of the moment thing. It's a lot different than someone posting weapons and like kind of bragging about it, like it sounded like one of the first kids was doing. But even still, knowing the severity of trouble that you could get into would greatly deter a lot of would-be troublemakers from getting into stuff. Because again, it's most kids, most people, something like this happens, it would be very embarrassing, and like, damn, it's a lot different than I thought it was going to be. And knowing what that real life consequences are, and you're sitting in a cell alone and you're cuffed up and you know that everyone has seen it, just a kid imagining that in their head would be like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't do this. And if that's the end goal and end result, I think it is a positive, and also the fact that the parents are incorporated in them being broadcast. And when your kid does something stupid like this, the parents get this embarrassment there too, and maybe that will uh, prompt them to start being better parents and maybe stay up on the discipline and make sure that they're not don't even have something like this in their head, their kids. So yeah, I think in almost every scenario, this is a positive. And again, there is the potential lasting impact that it would have on the kid's life. But hey, do dumb shit, you're gonna get the rewards of what you do. So,
Even a little 12-year-old boy that plays
yep,
Call of Duty
yep,
too much, and you know
yep,
he had a bad day at school, so he goes home and he goes on Discord and he says, "I'm about to bomb y'all."
yep, yeah. Because again, you don't know what's real. If for every case where before a kid might have said something they didn't mean it, if that helps cut down on those fake cases in a real case where someone actually does mean it can get isolated and handled better because the they know that the consequences are this bad, but they're still saying it anyways. Because if they do plan on doing that, that's again more resources that can go towards stopping it, or uh, less resources that have to be dedicated in other sources looking for potential threats. Where you key on one, focus on it, and you're equipped to handle it better. Yeah, it sucks, but sometimes examples have to be made.
So you are largely right. And spoiler alert, I pretty much agree with you. But you know for a fact that one of the problem with kids in particular is they don't necessarily understand the impact of long lasting consequences. Like, you know, for these kids, they don't necessarily understand that it might be it's 12, we don't know what's gonna happen in the world, but we could be like 10 years down the line. And obviously, while they didn't show these kids names, this kid will be recognized once they start going to college. Hey, weren't you that little boy that
I
was?
don't I don't know about that. Like,
I
for
guarantee you.
one, like a kid, it would be kind of hard to just like 10 years, 8, 10 years from now, to recognize the same kid on a video.
They do it now. People be getting caught up for doing all type of wild stuff when they were in school, and then when they get on the workforce. Sorry, because I was going to say they catch people doing blackface and all type of saying the N word, saying all doing this stuff. They're catching people.
Well, okay, I guess, but either way, it's going. If this is publicized or not, it's going on some type of record where a employer would find out about this. And again, it wouldn't have like the social aspect of being recognized
Yeah,
potentially,
I
but
don't
yeah,
know if
obviously.
it's if they're juvenile. I don't know if that's true.
oh,
Is that true
okay,
that an
but
employer would see that?
That's
I
true.
don't know. I have to
We don't know
ask
off
a
the
lawyer.
top. Yeah, we don't know off the top of my head, but
But
yeah,
I
that's.
mean,
But
I feel
outside of
like
that,
it'd be
whether like an official can find your information, that's fine. But we're talking about everybody. Like your literal classmate might bump into you, or your literal coworker might be like, "Hey, this is the kid that back then
uh
was."
I guess I don't know if like years and years down the line it might be, it might still be prevalent in their lives, but actions have consequences, bro. Like, I don't know what to tell you. This isn't something light like, oh, you were shoplifting. Nah, you literally threatened people's lives. It's not something to take lightly. And maybe the kids think that it is, and that's part of the problem. But
I mean, I don't. I
it's
think
harsh.
kids. I think you can make
It's
kids take
harsh,
everything
but
lightly. What name one thing kids take serious?
that's part of the thing too, is that kids don't really understand the long term impact of stuff. But even in the short term, having a video like this out there and getting clowned on by your classmates, like as it happens, and it wasn't happening before, kids will look at that and be like, "Damn, I don't want that to happen to me." So yeah, it's harsh, but I'm with it.
Yeah, no. I really do see your point. The other thing you said, and that goes along with this, although it wasn't in the videos that we specifically saw. And maybe it's not anything controversial, but what do y'all think about the point of parents? Because to be honest, while you could argue these kids' parents aren't the most attentive, if we're being charitable, do you think it's parents should take full blame when if your kid did something like this? Spin it back. What do you think it goes?
Um, I don't know if blame is the right word I would use because I would say responsibility because even if you raise your kid perfectly, we all know that
Yeah,
they're their own person. They can do all type of craziness, but a lot of the times these kids are not being disciplined the way they should be, and it leads into them thinking that their actions have no consequences. And if a parent knows and acknowledges, oh, there will be severe consequences, and that will involve my own embarrassment, not just my kids. Because again, a lot of these parents, unfortunately, are not the best and are a little selfish. But anything that helps in increasing that level of uh, responsibility the parent has toward the kid's actions and discipline, and saying, yeah, you don't do this, anything helps. So I don't know about fully putting all the blame on them, but hey, it's harsh, but parents, make sure you crack down.
and that's true. But we acknowledge that even the most like attentive parent or even the most caring parent, they might not know what like the
Yeah,
discords and like the Snapchats and
that's
some of
definitely
these like
true.
more niche platforms are that kids are making a lot of use of these days.
Yeah, and I'm coming more so from a perspective of make sure the kid doesn't have the inclination to do this in the first place, more so than you need to know everything your kid is doing because
Mm-hmm.
kids are going to be sneaky,
Yeah.
but they need to be sneaky in ways that are not extremely harmful.
All right, you're right. And what about you, Ace? Do you think if kids are doing this type of BS that the parents should be held accountable as well?
I mean, I think I'm of the same mentality where I'm still not completely sold that this addresses or that in particular making the people um public addresses the problem. And like I am more critical of the parents, I think. Like I I do think this is an indicator that, there's issues with discipline at home that are not likely. And I kind of would be more in favor of making the parents public because obviously an adult is going to be much more like understanding of the ramifications of if they were to see this on TV, so another adult or another parent getting their whole name and everything plastered on the TV, an adult is more likely to understand and appreciate that consequence. But at the same time, if the parent is shown, then the kid is like you're pretty much gonna know who the kid is automatically.
Yeah.
So it it like again, while I think I would be more in favor, it still would kind of go against my overall thinking that I don't know if this is necessarily the solution. Like I don't know if the face of the name need to be shown in order to achieve the same result.
Which is fair, which is fine. Yeah, I do tend to lean a bit more towards what I was saying. I think I don't know if it's just raw humiliation, whether it's shame, whatever category you want to put it in. I think it does have some level of effectiveness, and I think you could obviously again you won't see it on the edited video, but if you see those kids, they do have that face of shamed, and no one knows what's going to be there in the future. But I think I mean, just imagine yourself a little boy, in cuffs for some little dumb shit you did. I think you would understand that, and I think others watching it can might get a sentiment of that. This is a no nonsense thing. But yeah, I don't know if there's too much more to say about it. It definitely is one of those situations where, because of the situations that have happened in the past, we do look at these situations, and people are in counties and districts across the country are probably looking into all types of methods to crack down on even the potential for any type of incident. So I'm not surprised. The Florida element of this makes me just chuckle a little bit because it definitely sounds like some hard share Florida shit. But it is a relatively serious thing. I don't know. I've been thinking about redemption or rehabilitation a lot recently. And obviously, maybe it's not necessarily applicable to these kids per se, but yeah, I don't know. I definitely, in general, unless y'all know the crimes that I have known, that I think should be exiled, but I do think in general there should be a good path towards like rehabilitation and like making sure people can go back into society and like be like not ostracized, but they feel the full sense of accountability. So yeah, this is one of those things where it's definitely an idea, and we might have to wait and see if it's effective or not. But
Yeah, but there's definitely like there's no rehabilitation in terms of the public. Like if your name and face is shown, that's all that's needed for for that possibility to be nil. Like in terms of ostracization.
I don't. It would
And when
definitely
when
be
I say that,
public embarrassment,
real
but it's
quick,
not like the kid actually shut up the school. Like,
and when I say that, I do mean on all sides. I do mean like society kind of has to morph itself into one where like people can come back and like they did the time, so we don't have to like slander them every single time.
no, you say you're acting.
Yeah, you
like
can have an idea.
they can
No,
be
no.
ostracized, but they didn't actually. I think people would understand they didn't actually commit a crime. Like, it's not.
I'm
like
just
they'd be
I'm just
pariahs.
talking in terms.
I'm not
just
talking on a
addressing.
specific thing.
Oh, just
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
But even though Florida is the craziest state in all of America, salute to Florida. They're going through a lot right now, so you gotta give a salute. But if there's nothing else, we can move on to the next topic.